you know, I made a Snapchat that I sent to initially Shake only, but then I saved it because I felt the energy of that video was what I needed to not only close off 2020 with, but throttle into 2021. It's small, it's short, sweet, and to the point, but it's 2020's over! I'm hoping to make 2021 even better than 2020, as I'm sure most of you are as well. But before we do that, and while it's not going to just be this week, because I still got to do my listening along update, I figured we would bookend 2020 with List Week, starting today. From today through Sunday, we're going to be doing my wrap-ups for the year, my best and worst of stuff. Today, I'm doing my worst songs. Tomorrow, I'm doing my worst albums. Thursday, I'm doing my best games of the year. Friday, I'm doing the best songs of the year. And Saturday, I am doing the best albums of the year. Now, this year was great for music. There was a lot of great stuff that I checked out. And honestly, when it comes to the worst songs, in some instances, they were still songs that were on great albums. They were just a rotting point across a project that was relatively consistent outside of that. Today I'm going to be breaking down my top 11 least favorite songs that I checked out throughout the year, that I had heard throughout the year. Now obviously I didn't listen to everything bad. There's some bad records that even on my worst list that are on others won't be on there. I'm doing one artist per entry just to spread the shit on the walls, like in Dumb and Dumberer. You know that scene, the one with Bob Saget. My house is full of shit! But without further ado, let's go ahead and get breaking down.
For I'm just a footprint in the snow.
Easily the dullest moment on a record full of a sporadic scattershot approach that the band normally takes. Jesus Christ 2005 God Bless America feels like the point where they're trying to be the most ironic but the most boring at delivering that irony. I hate the overall tone of the song. That's why I used it in my alternate take review. While I know some people took issue with the sort of electronic tinged tracks, I feel like those were at least trying to forge on a path that wasn't horribly handled, in my opinion. But the general tone of this track in particular just is an extra coat of dull on a project that had too many moments like it, in my opinion. It's a track that is the sonic equivalent of this wall, like of a blank slate wall. And I feel like you would get the same appreciation of it by just standing there and staring at it for the same amount of time that would pass. While I could have slammed the preachier tracks or some of the more experimental moments that don't go anywhere, I feel like sometimes it's a bigger sin to be boring than to fail at something new. And for an artist like Phoebe Bridgers, who had a killer year this year, she also just seems as underutilized as any subject matter or sonic accompaniment that coats this bland song.
I think I'm seeing Dr. Sabah! Dr. Sabah!
Another point in Tech's career where he seemingly, like another rapper on this list, is running out of stuff to talk about, and so, or finding harder and harder ways to write similar atmosphere or similar thematic songs, and to have another song where Tech is still trying to light a fire in his catalog and show that he's still this ferocious spitter. His hook is to say that he doesn't go to a doctor that's, I guess, known for anti-aging treatment. I don't think the song, by and large, fails in some instances. Text flow is still tight as ever. You know, he tries to throw in some wordplay that he's known for. Hell, featured artist Landon Fire, who's on this track and a couple other instances on his newest record, also dishes some really good heat. But it's a hard sell, and I feel like Tech doesn't sell it well. Partially because in the past, Tech is also known to rap about certain things like his kids' college funds and his independent drink ventures. You know, Tech's a guy who is always rapping about weird shit, but in his later years, that weird shit has transcended into him trying to basically spin raps out of business talk. And this is just another notch in that lane that I feel like fails on execution.
Come up with you and both drunk on the
converse of the rest of the record, MGK's track with Blackbear just feels like more akin to Blackbear's track on the new All Time Low record. It feels like it fits more on the MGK project, if only because there's other tracks that sort of have that sort of production style that coats this song. But I don't think that this particular song does anything wholly fresh or interesting in a similar vein to the rest of the record. It just sits in this also trendy realm that I feel like the song doesn't quite nail down all that well. There's other collaborations that I think were better utilized on MGK's turd of a project, but this one felt the most pandery in a way that a project that seemingly was made to pander to a certain demographic doesn't equally pander to that new iteration of the demographic. It feels like a weird point on this record that's trying to capitalize on 2000s pop punk nostalgia that fails upon execution, in my opinion.
Bitches calling my phone like I'm locked up nonstop.
I kind of took a break from Drake this year, and really last year. I kind of, over the last couple of years, have been pretty burnt out on Drake by and large, but the guy just keeps dropping single after single after collection of tracks because they're not really albums anymore. And this year, I had heard this song somewhere, and I had heard it again on Todd's Worst of the Year list, and I was like, oh yeah, this song exists. Drake sounds lifeless on this very lifeless beat, and when trying to channel the essence of a pop star, I feel like that doesn't really go hand in hand. You know, lifeless pop stars aren't really something that you see normally. Drake does a good job at creating this monotonous flow that sells singles, but it doesn't work when the beat is just as lifeless as your delivery. A lot of the wordplay isn't really all that spicy either. I just generally don't like the song as a whole, and it kind of sat in the deep seeds of my mind, only to be brought back again just in time to put it on this list. One of the more boring cuts I've heard Drake on, and again, I just don't think DJ Khaled should be getting more press on principle, personally. But yeah, this song sucks. One of the easier targets on Father of All Motherfuckers, but I can't help but also think it's easily one of the weaker tracks on an already shit-stained atrocity, featuring what I would equate to diet stadium rock tropes with those shitty drums, that Joan Jett sample that doesn't fit at all into the track. And while I appreciate the commentary, Green Day has done commentary, even in this matter, much better with tracks like Bang Bang. This feels like Green Day phoning it in every aspect, and for a band that I hold to a pretty high regard, it sucks to say that. But yeah, oh yeah, with its really lazy chorus work and all that, it's no surprise it's ending up on this list. I could have easily put one of those network songs on here, because while I didn't hate the project outright, there were a lot of low points in an otherwise really spotty track listing that I could have put here, but I didn't, because Green Day and the Network are basically the same band, and I felt like that would be the same thing as putting a track from Eminem's A-side and B-side on this list. I just didn't want to do it.
For guns and knives are an antidote to retain some kind of...
So I'll say this up front, I didn't really give Youngblood much of a chance to begin with. I hated the guy's marketing that his team was throwing at me. I was seeing him advertised all over the place. I thought it was obnoxious. And I listened to this because obviously, you know, I like me some Denzel. And I figured, well, at least he'll be good on it. And he was. He was great. But the beat for this track isn't really good. The guitars that enter the track, that are on the track, sound really flat. And Youngblood himself, I hate him. Hate how he sounds in the song. Hate his style that he's presenting. I feel like it definitely fits the way that they're marketing him, and the fact that it's very gaudy and obnoxious, but in a way that I don't think works for the aesthetic he's really wanting to go for. I thought that this track was very try-hard in a lot of instances, and I'm shocked. I'm surprised that Denzel ended up on such a bad song, because the guy, honestly, He's got a stellar batting average, and this is just another point of him kind of spicing up a track that would otherwise be tasteless without him. You know, I almost put Oprah's bank account on this list, but revisiting Lil Yachty's Lil Boat 3 made me realize that Pardon Me is easily the weaker of the feature-filled tracks because the chorus is so monotonous. Future and Yachty make for a cocktail I would never want to drink again, and while Mike Will Made It has made some good stuff this year, I would argue his contributions here are not among that. This is one of the worst aspects of, again, like I've said already, an already really bad project that saw Yachty further watering down his sound in a way that was already really shallow. He made it even more surface level in a way that wasn't exciting. The track is dull, boring, and not at all what I would want from something of this caliber.
But I'm trying to get some head first, like a nosedive.
Similarly to Tech 9, Eminem spent this year further digging himself into the hole of dad rap irrelevancy. Not like Cohort's Atmosphere, who are doing a good job thriving in this lane, but M is coming with his corniest bars he's ever made on a beat that reminds me so much, and a hook that reminds me so much of the Encore era, which isn't the only aspect of the Music to Be Murdered by Side B record that reminded me of those days, but this is easily the worst track M has put out in a while. And that's saying something, because M has not wowed me in any capacity for a while, but with lines like Chris Christopherson, Piss Pistofferson, the Fortnite grandma shit, and that chorus that is that lazy, it's one of the worst tracks that immediately threw me off when listening to this record the first time, and I never really enjoyed listening to after that. Bad bars, bad beat, bad experience all around. This could have been great. I love Anderson .Paak and I love Busta Rhymes, and yet you fails at being anything but this herky, jerky sort of track where Anderson and Busta have this awkward flow that doesn't wholly match the beat that it's on, and a hook that, again, like Tone Deaf and Oh Yeah, is incredibly lazy. I was disappointed by this track, maybe more than any other on this list, but the only reason why it's not higher is because the shit that's above it is pretty bad. But I'm upset that a dude that I really respect in the new era of R&B and Busta couldn't come together with something quite like this. I was wanting another R&P, man. That would have been so good, but instead we got something smooth and awkward. I don't even have an analogy that fits smooth and awkward, but it is. Smooth production with an awkward beat, and it doesn't work. It sits in this awkward realm that clashes very heavily. One of 1,000 tracks on the new Black Eyed Peas record that recycles the same production, the same sort of reggaeton vibe in a carbon copy fashion. I could have picked a handful of tracks from the new record, but this one just felt the most too obvious to make, and yet the Black Eyed Peas tried to check off every single box they could with the reggaeton starter pack, and a track called Mamacita just felt the most obvious and on the nose to make that they couldn't help themselves but try to make it work. And it doesn't. It's the same tempo, the same percussion style, beat that they use ad nauseum on the project, with some truly garbage tier sampling on its hook from will.i.am's voice, just spouting out the most stock, generic Spanish phrases out there, with the same level of corniness and bad writing that coats the record. It's everything you would expect after maybe sampling the record, funneled into one very derivative, lazy package. Let's go out with a bang! Go ahead and get another sort of thing out there that I've never really talked about. I hate AJR. I think that their form of sterile, pandery pop doesn't work. And Bang is a track that is completely obnoxious with its instrumental, its sterile-ass instrumental with that, here we go.
And while we're talking about this beat, in the chorus, it's so busy. Like, it's busy in the song, but in the verses, it kind of reins it into this manageable busyness. But with the horn stings and the percussion, it's just way too much. With, again, that just really clean sheen that enhances that busyness in a way that isn't great.
The hook is really cheesy, hammy, and over the top, and terrible, and it's like the worst breed of pandery pop, AJR are, by and large. But I've never gotten to talk about them, so here I am to do so. AJR suck. They made one of the worst songs I heard last year, and I hope to never talk about them again. The only reason why I'd heard them is because of the radio. Because I think I've said in recent years, I've slowly been dipping back into the radio sphere, and sometimes I regret it, like in the case of hearing Bang on repeat.
Yeah, you got that yummy, yum, that yummy, yum.
But Yummy is a whole other case of awful, because not only is the writing super cringe, maximum cringe, the beat is super low-key in a way that doesn't suit the subject matter. The hook is repetitive as shit, and the marketing, everything about this record just has this skeezy smell about it that doesn't breed anything good. And while, you know, there were other aspects of Justin Bieber's record as a whole that failed, him trying to sell Yummy as sexy, maybe the biggest atrocity. It was the first big stinker of the year. It was the first big blow-up of the year, but it was also a huge, huge stinker. I hated Yummy, thought it was a terrible song the first time I heard it, and I think it's equally bad at the end of the year. It's a garbage pile of a song that has zero substance worthwhile in it. You know, I've heard better cheesy love songs than this by artists of higher calibers than Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber just can't sell it. He can't sell a lot of things. He tried to sell a lot this year, and he couldn't sell Yummy, no matter how much he tried to force-feed it down your throats.
Shitty remixes, begs for streams, and even going so far as to go on his Instagram to try and coax his fans to streaming it. It's all a bunch of lows, man.
I hate the song. I hate its tactics that were bred behind it, and I hate just everything about Yummy. Just leaves this bitter taste in my mouth that I never want to taste again. I hope that as this year turns, we leave that song in last year and we pillage forth to brighter, poppier horizons. And that was my year. That was my worst songs of the year anyway. What did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know in those comments down below. Is there a song that I missed? Is there a song that you hated more than Yummy? Let me know. Tomorrow, we're doing worst albums. I'll have even more bad things to say, by and large, but hopefully you're excited for that. I'm going to get out of here. I've been Viral Rack. You guys will get these live situations, and I'll see you another day.